Trading Addicts, what's up? This is Jeff Kohler, aka The Option Addict, from over at www.tradingaddicts.com. Here to kick off a weekly watch list, give you a little bit of market analysis and some trade ideas heading into the upcoming week. I don't know, if we start with market analysis here, I'm kind of a skeptic, to be quite honest. Seems like there's a little too much optimism going on in this market right now, but the market doesn't seem like it really has wanted to go down all that much, and that's been in the face of some pretty decent strength in the dollar, weakness in the euro. So to me, it makes me think that, if that relationship reverses here, we see some weakness in the dollar, this market might actually rally pretty hard, and that might give us that final little catapult up near 1300. But if we reject and reverse that, I'd prefer to probably try picking some shorts in this market. I look around and I look at a lot of things, like copper, some other relationships that we typically follow, and they're not really supportive of a real big, meaningful rally. So the great thing about last week, we had a phenomenal week last week, and what we did was we just kind of set the market analysis aside and focused on individual stocks. Had an amazing week. Everything we touched was on fire. So I hope we get into a market like that where maybe we might be choppy. I think that this market might not want to rally a whole lot, but then again, I don't think it wants to go down a whole lot either. So I don't wonder if maybe we continue to coil like we have been in the S&Ps for a little while, and maybe see 1300. But in that, we continue to get steep pullbacks, and maybe down the road we get really aggressive and try to buy weakness around 1260. But from here, I gotta say I don't really see a real major trend in either direction. I mentioned copper. Copper's really yet to break out of its range too, and we've been talking a lot about emerging markets in China lately. And one thing we spoke of on Friday was the massive divergence between the S&Ps and the Shanghai. And you look at this, and they usually don't get this stretched. So I don't wonder if maybe that relationship needs to narrow a little bit. I mean, the S&P's got to come in a little bit more, to make up for that big divergence. But I'm kind of a skeptic, and it just seems like with the VIX as low as it is, and some of the stuff that I follow, there's too much optimism, too much complacency out there. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get another fast leg, hopefully after we reach 1300, because I gotta say I'm positioned for with a lot of longs here. So anyway, what I've done is I've taken. Got a lot of ideas this week, long and short, a lot of $10 darlings this week. That's where our focus has been really primarily the last few weeks. We've done really, really well there. Some of those that I wanted to highlight would include, a lot of really good patterns like this, like in Harmonic, HLIT. The way this thing's coiled up, starting to get towards the upper end of this range, looking for breakouts. That's something that I like. TWER, let me zoom in a little bit here. TWER has been coiling up around the 50-day. I think it might be able to break here pretty soon. So I've got some alerts up from here so that if they trigger, we'll be in these things pretty quickly. I like the solars too. I like the way Canadian Solar, CSIQ, and I'm watching First Solar. I want to see First Solar kind of make the first move here, and then I've got ready to take positions in CSIQ and YGE. YGE I like as well. Either one of those are some of my favorites. Aside from that, a couple others I like. PLAB, the way that it's coiled here, at least to get towards the upper end of this base, which is a little bit closer to about 675, closer to 7. And there's been some nice volume here earlier in the week that I like too. PLAB, ENTR. That's a great looking setup. ENTR, RAS. RAS has been stair-stepping higher. That's one that I like a lot to get up above its 200-day. And a lot of these have some pretty nice volume pockets overhead too that we've been looking at. LLNW, this thing looks about ready for a move any day now. That's one that I'm watching. AHT, I think that probably goes earlier this week. And last but not least, in the $10 darling realm, IO, which I had an eye on here on Friday. We'll be watching first thing tomorrow as well. Some of the longs I like, we had a nice little position of weekly calls that we took off in Amazon, and I got to tell you, that move I think kind of snaps the end of this real nice longer term bullish wedge. Had a nice little inverse head and shoulder pattern that confirmed out of this. So what I'd be looking for is to be a dip buyer at Amazon from here on out, based on that move. So if we see any weakness, if the market pulls back, I want to jump into Amazon with some weekly calls. It's one of my favorites. I also, believe it or not, I like the move here in potash. I think if it holds, if this thing turns up a little bit come Monday morning, or in an early portion of the week, I wanna be long potash. Financials, I got to tell you, with the BKX breaking out of this bigger base, I think dip buys and financials look pretty attractive, and the two that I like the most have got to be Goldman. Goldman down here, especially if it can take out this prior low from Friday. I think I want to buy that weakness in Goldman. And I also like the way that Morgan Stanley's been coiled up. I think that one, if financials start to move a little bit, I'd try to be just a real short-term dip buyer in some of these financial names. A couple other setups that I like are titanium metals, TIE. Let's go something like this. Titanium looks pretty good. I like the setup in KLAC, the way that it's coiled up here near its highs. Easy to manage, especially if the market stays strong. That thing should break out and take, probably get up to 50. Somebody pointed out to this OVTI, which doesn't look too bad here. Just short term, looking for maybe multi-day pop. Double bottom in CRM is looking better and better. Let me get some of the garbage off my charts here. There we go. Double bottom and turning back up, staying back above the century mark. So I'd look for a move at least to 106 here pretty quick. CRM looks good, and then this SPPI. I've been watching this for a little while. I think hopefully this week it might try to make a move. Some of the stocks I like, if the market stays weak, if you're looking for some put options, Molycorp, and you look at that on a 2-year chart, and it's up against some pretty sturdy resistance. So up at about 27 or so is where I love this thing as a short, even though the rare earths have been super, super strong. Next test up there at 27 in Molycorp, I'd short that. I like CAVM. I like this little bearish wedge that's been going on here for the last couple of weeks. I like LRCX, nice little pairs trade between that and, let's say, KLAC. And that would be just off the 20-day if it holds. This thing's so close to its lows, you got to think it's going to try for new lows into market weakness. In energy, I was thinking about maybe, I like kind of like the spot in Halliburton, maybe give it a couple days at the 50-day. If it stays beneath that and rolls over from there, I might trade that as a short. Same thing with ARM Holdings, ARMH. Breaks down beneath that 200-day again. I think that makes for a pretty decent short. And Bed Bath & Beyond, believe it or not. Trying to see if this thing rolls over from the 50 might be a good spot to try to pick a top. So just a couple of ideas, guys. I've got a lot more that I've put down in some of the links beneath this video that you feel free to click on, take a look. We'll be adding to those throughout the week on Trading Addicts, so check in there for any updates. But hopefully you guys have a great week this upcoming week. Again, this has been The Option Addict. That's been my watch list. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome week.